me, Alex, and I have a book haul. Um, I'm not a believer in book buying bans, but I went a little crazy and I think I need to put myself on a book buying ban. Um, I usually stick to buying used books or, yeah, thrifted books, and I'm paying like $1 to $4 a book. Not bad. This time though, I have quite a few purchased from bookstores, like actual like new copies. And so I have spent more than I typically spend on books. And I have more books purchased than I am reading. I'm starting to get overwhelmed. So let me show you everything I've gotten, give you the wheres and whys of how these book purchases happened, and then we're gonna go on a book buying ban. So here we go, starting with the book that broke the seal on this book buying bonanza spree I've gone on. Circe by Madeline Miller. This was really the only book I had to buy. And had to, obviously, this is a book addict problem. I could have gotten it from the library, but this was my book club's choice for May. Actually, last night was the book club discussion, but I didn't go. Every month, the last Wednesday of every month is my book club. My son has baseball games on Wednesday nights, and I think because I knew that was the case, that I wouldn't be attending, I didn't really give myself the push. So I bought this for the purpose of going to book club, while in the back of my mind knowing I wouldn't be going to book club. So the discussion was last night, and I am 80 pages into Circe by Madeline Miller. I purchased this from Barnes & Noble with a gift card that I actually got for Christmas. So I've been hoarding that gift card. So that was responsible. But of course I had more on the gift card than this book cost. So I had to get a second book. I picked up, solely on a cover buy, When We Were Birds by Ayanna Lloyd Bonwo. Wow. I saw the birds, and just now when I held it up to the screen, I noticed the people in it. I hadn't seen that before. That's really cool. Like, I see it in the camera. Already couldn't tell you what this book is about. It was a cover grab. I kind of skim for buzzwords when I am discovering a book, something I've never heard anyone mention on any bookish social media platforms, but it's gorgeous. So I'll read you the beginning of the synopsis because, yeah, like I said, I skim it. I don't want to know too much going in. In an old house on a hill where the city meets the rainforest, Yejide's mother is dying. She is leaving behind a legacy that now passes to Yejide. One St. Bernard woman in every generation has the power to shepherd the city's souls into the afterlife. But after years of suffering her mother's neglect and bitterness, Yejide is looking for a way out. And I stopped there. There is more, but I stopped there. Already caught my attention. I don't want to know anything else. So I bought those two books, but could not stop thinking about this other book that I saw on the new paperback table at Barnes & Noble. Could not get this out of my head. And so for Mother's Day, Nate and the boys took me to Barnes & Noble so that I could pick up a copy. Organ Meats by K. Ming Chang, author of Bestiary and Gods of Want. I can picture Bestiary. I have never read this author before. the buzzwords that caught my attention. Best friends Anita and Rainey find refuge by an old sycamore tree with its neighboring lot of stray dogs who have a mysterious ability to communicate with humans. The girls learn that they have been preceded by generations of dog-headed women and women-headed dogs whose bloodlines bind them together. To preserve their kinship forever, Anita convinces Rainey to become a dog with her, tying a collar of red string around each of their necks. But then the two girls are separated. Anita sinks into a dream world that only Rainey knows how to rescue her from. Filled with ghosts and bodily entrails and visceral lore, this is a story about the horror and beauty of intimacy. So this is, I started it on Mother's Day. So we bought it the Saturday before Mother's Day. So Sunday, I spent the day reading it. It is freaking weird. And I knew it would be weird. It gives off magical realism, surrealism. It's also gross. In that way that I feel young women authors try to be, like, shockingly gross. And so after I started it, I was like, what the hell is this? I looked up the author, and she refers to this book and her other two books, while they're not connected, she refers to them as her fecal trio. There's a lot of poop in this book. It is bizarre. Yet, there is enough. You see, I have tabs. My bookmark is actually my sticky tabs here. Because the writing, for as bizarre as it is, there are like really catching sentences or descriptions or very emotive kind of observations. I think this is going to have a lot to do with gender and oppression, and the roles women have to play. I think it's going to have a lot to do with female relationships. I'm kind of picking up on possible queer or non-binary, if not trans, tone, like theme to it. But again, it's just a very surreal book about these young girls. Very kind of like dark fairy tale-y, almost with like a horror twist, but it's more of a gross twist than anything. Organ meats. I mean, but yeah, so the cover caught my attention. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And the description of it made me think of Night Bitch, which was my other Mother's Day gift. This is one I have read before and absolutely love, but I read a NetGalley ebook version of it, and so I didn't own a copy. Nate grabbed it off the table because he thought the clever title would be something I enjoyed, and just the dogness of it made him make the connection to the book that I had already picked up as my Mother's Day present. This one. And he was totally right. Like, what I think caught my attention was this idea of woman-dog transformation that reminded me of this. So these were my Mother's Day presents. I did not shop off of the suggested for mom table that Barnes & Noble had. These two were not on that. Then, well, actually, before this, I had ordered from Blackwell's a copy of Soldier Sailor by Claire Kilroy. It was shortlisted for the Women's Prize. It is actually not yet published in the US, and it is the last book I have to read off of the short prize list. Kind of. I DNF'd the Wren, based off of my long list reading. That is now on the short list. And so I got a copy out of the library, but I don't really feel like reading it. So this is the last book I have to read for the Women's Prize. And because it wasn't available in the US yet, I couldn't get it from the library. So I figured I would own it. It's a story about a mother and son that makes me think it is one for the shelves. I liked this UK paperback cover better than what I think the US cover is going to be. It reminds me of the Shuggie Bain cover. There's two covers of that, and one is a mother with her son, and that one, the cover just grabs me, and just looking at it I could cry. And this one, the baby hands around the mother's neck, gets me. So yeah, this is a story of a young mother kind of holding on to her, or trying to hold on to her own identity, with, let's see, her marriage strains, and she struggles with the questions of autonomy, creativity, and the passing of time. I love motherhood stories in which it is very much acknowledged that motherhood is a struggle, that a mother's identity is like a push and pull between like self and mother. So I'm very much looking forward to this one. Let's see, what came next? Oh, library bookstore. $1 each. Free Food for Millionaires by Minjin Lee. Sorry. I read Pachinko by Minjin Lee. Absolutely loved it. Don't own a copy. So this thing is chunky. I like the idea of having this on my shelf to represent the author. And eventually I will read this too. I'm very interested in this examination of immigrant and class status in the United States. My buzzword scan, the part that caught my attention was a sweeping epic of love, greed, and hunger set in a landscape where millionaires scramble for the free lunches the poor are too proud to accept. And I picked up The Murmur of Bees, which also seems to have that magical realism tone. I think there's something about an orphan and his connection to bees, if I'm not mistaken. Again, don't want to know too much going in, but Natalie, I remember her reading this and liking it, and so it went on a list of books that I wanted to look out for, and I found it. I had to go grab the next book that I purchased. Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I grabbed this on my day out in New Haven. There's a vlog for that when I was showing Karen around New Haven. I picked this up at Atticus Bookstore. It is signed, which I didn't realize, even though there's a big shiny sticker on the cover. I'm gonna have to get that off. Wandering Stars by Tommy Orange. I recently bought used There. Haven't read that in forever and only had it on ebook, so I'm excited to, well, I haven't decided if I'm going to reread There or just go right into this. I think this is described as like a prequel but also a sequel, or a sequel but also a prequel to There, but I think what I've heard is that it can be read pretty much on its own. So, well, I don't remember There like at a very detailed level. I do remember the experience of reading the book and the structure and format of the book, the overall tone, and messaging of the book. So I'm thinking I might just be able to go right into reading Wandering Stars. Let me know if I'm correct. Please. Thank you. And now, more used books. My son played in a baseball tournament over Memorial Day weekend. War at the Shore, which takes place like up I-95 in Connecticut shoreline. And it just so happens to be very, very close to the Book Barn. So on the first day of the tournament, we went to the downtown location of the Book Barn. This is where they sell mostly children's books, some religion and spirituality books, but then in the back, there is sci-fi and horror. So I picked up The Merry Spinster. These are tales of everyday horror. So it's a bunch of short stories, dark, twisty fairy tale kind of stories. I picked up another book that I have already read, The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I don't think I've read anything else by him. I think I may have tried one other and didn't like it, but I love The Only Good Indians. Actually liked it more after finishing and discussing with other people, so I do want to reread this now that I have a wider context for the story. But this is a really good, visceral, just kind of like, it gives you this feeling of being like hunted. So The Only Good Indians, I feel like at this point everyone's read it. Yeah. I also picked up Misery by Stephen King and Cujo by Stephen King. Got home and realized I already have Cujo. Oops. Already have Cujo. But I like this cover with the dog snout better than the mass market paperback, which is surprising because I usually prefer a paperback, but this snout wins. I love it. I feel like the book is going to be very different from the movie. Could someone fill me in? Is that the case? I don't like him looking at me, but I remember the movie making like the dog's issues being like lab created. Am I making that up? Because I would have been a rather small child watching the movie. And this sounds like he was bitten by a bat in a cave. So this is going to go on my summer reading list. We'll talk about that another time. And the last one from that trip at the Book Barn, Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, a werewolf novel. The next day of the tournament, we were closer to the main Book Barn. And so here I am at the main Book Barn. They had some new artwork painted on the like dollar book section, which I loved. And I found really good books, things I was looking for. But then I kind of pivoted and I put everything I found back and instead focused on the summer reading that I want Oliver to do. So he got The Hunger Games, the second book in the Giver Quartet, Gathering Blue, I think it's called. And he got Hunger Games, Giver. He got one more. Oh, The Hate You Give. So those are going to be his like going into 9th grade summer reading books, along with some other stuff we have at home. But from my stack, I did hold on to The Wild Things by Dave Eggers, a novel form of Where the Wild Things Are, which is a great children's book. And so I love the idea of a deeper, possibly darker novel length story that goes along with that. And that is my excessive book haul. And with that, we are not buying any more books, which is going to be very hard for me because my birthday is at the end of June. So who am I kidding? I will be buying more books by the end of June. All right, thanks for watching. I'm going to be back soon. Now that I have this done, I can find space on shelves and then come back with my summer reading plans. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.